All right, then let's talk about Straya. Yena. The Wallabies, how would you grade their 2024? Give them a mark out of 10 and leave your comment down below. Based on the results, based on the performance, based on the development of the squad, how optimistic can Australia be looking forward to 2025? A big year with the British and Irish Lions coming to town. And yeah, just how do you think Joe Schmidt has got on? A mark out of 10. I'm going to give you mine at the end. I'll look at the squad, and this is just an opportunity. We're in December, a chance to reflect on the year that was. And 2024, well, it needed to be a good year for Australia given the absolute dumpster fire of 2023 under Eddie Jones. It couldn't have been any worse than it was. The people at the top of the ARU have run the sport into the ground. It's the fourth sport in Australia behind NRL, AFL, football, or soccer, and possibly even fifth now behind breakdancing, thanks to Raygun. But yeah, not in a good place. And I mean, what were they thinking? Hindsight's 2020, obviously, but getting rid of a not just a perfectly good coach, a very, very good coach in Dave Rennie to chase a PR boost of Eddie Jones, who certainly, I mean, he definitely got people talking about him, if that's what they were after with some of his press conferences. But it wasn't the sort of coverage that really you want. You want the talking to be done on the pitch. On the pitch, it was an absolute unmitigated disaster. But let's look at 2024. The results for Australia, firstly, just reflecting on the year. It was quite fortunate that they were playing Wales, wasn't it? I mean, I referred to the games in July as the basket case bowl. We have Warren Gatland's new team in Wales, bunch of kids. They got rid of a generational worth of talent that, well, had left the team, retired and whatnot. The ones that beat Australia by a record score at the 2023 World Cup. Very different Wales went to Australia, and it was quite lucky for both teams that they were playing each other because they were able to get something out of it, to be honest. It might have, had Ireland gone to Australia, I think we know what would have happened. And that might not have enabled Joe Schmidt to do some of the things he did, embed some of the new players in that he managed. A win against Georgia, spirited Georgia as well, completed July. And then the Rugby Championship came around, only the one victory, and that was by a narrow score against Argentina in biblically bad conditions, which Australia just managed better on the night. They actually pushed New Zealand really close in the first match at home to New Zealand, but other than that, they got panned. And at this point, honestly, and look back at the videos in the channel, and I'll hold my hands up. I was saying, is there really any point in the British and Irish Lions tour? Because we know what's going to happen. It's going to be a 3-0 whitewash. And really, is that the spectacle we need? And I took no pleasure in saying that because I want there to be a strong Australia. World Rugby needs Australia to be strong. They've been one of the traditional powerhouses, won a couple of World Cups, always competing at the top table, and then they've just coming off the worst ever World Cup performance and the sport in absolute ruins. I was dubious about Joseph Suaali'i as someone that they need. Did they really need to spend $6 million on him? And what's happened is the November window, actually, a lot of the work that's been done through the year and a lot of the time that Joe Schmidt has had with his squad through 2024 came through in November, obviously with that win against England, which was the best Australia have played in years, caught England playing poorly and deserved the win. Just the bravery they showed, the skill and execution was outstanding. And Suaali'i in his first ever professional rugby match, not even international, professional rugby match of any type. And he looked to the manner born. Guys like Tom Wright stepping up. I'll come to the squad in a minute. And the way they competed against Ireland at the end of the November series, again, just gives you some green shoots. They were poor against Scotland relatively, but in the other games, really competitive and deserved to win a couple of them. So overall, a record of played 13, won 6 is not great. 46% win record. Yes, they play against South Africa and New Zealand, 4 of those games. But on the flip side, they did play against Wales for 3 of those games as well, and Georgia. So it's not a great return, but it the trend has been upwards. They have got better through the year, and that does paint a slightly different picture on how you feel about Australia. The world ranking has changed a bit, and again, it just kind of backs up that fact there is a gradual improvement through the year, And they started in 9th position in the world rankings, and they've jumped up 1 spot to 8th. They've got a long way to go to break back into where they would feel like they should be and have been traditionally. It's a long road back, but they have started that road, and there are some green shoots. And when you look at the squad, and I've already mentioned him, Joseph Aukuso Suaali'i, I mean, it looks like $6 million well spent, to be perfectly honest. He looks like a potential superstar, and I hope he's just not here for a couple of years for the British and Irish Lions tour of the Rugby World Cup, and then we'll go back to rugby league. I wouldn't blame him if that is the case. But what a super athlete he is. And I was expecting to see him in the back three, and that was my issue. I was like, why do Australia need another winger? Or fullback. That's like the one area of the pitch where they've got really good options. The fact he's occupied that 13 jersey, and with Jordi Pataya going off to the NFL, that looks an even smarter move. And with Karevi constantly injured and getting no younger, looks like a smart move. And I mean, to be able to play the way he did, coming straight in, and you hear this across rugby, 13 is the most difficult position to play, particularly defensively. And he's not perfect, but for a young man just starting out on his journey, he looks really, really good. Really good. So I hold my hands up, and I was wrong on that. And I hold my hands up and say I was wrong that Australia cannot be competitive against the British and Irish Lions. They can be, but they're going to need every one of their big players fit, available and firing. Angus Bell, to that end, was a massive positive for Australia this year, coming back after a long layoff, fit, looking great, looking hungry. He looked absolutely knackered as well by the Ireland game and got completely ruined in that match. But he showed enough through the year. Maybe I think he just needed a bit of a rest by that point. Harry Wilson has led the team fantastically and been a really good player. And that back row of Rob Valetini, Harry Wilson, Fraser McWright is legitimately world class and would be the basis of Joe Schmidt's team going forward. If they're all on the pitch and playing well, then Australia are going to have a shot. What they need to work on, though, lots, but just picking a few, halfbacks. They are not good enough. Just not good enough. Yes, Gordon, he can do some nice things at scrum half. Nick White has his moments, was better in the past. Tate McDermott's decent, but and I think Joe Schmidt has done the right thing, giving plenty of time and just letting Noah Lolosio have more time, just keeping him at 10. He was chopping and changing a bit, but has stuck with Lolosio. And I think whoever he went for, he needed to do that. You can't keep chopping and changing in these positions. And they're perfectly good, serviceable players. They're just not elite. And I don't know. Yeah, the ceiling to how good you can get when that isn't addressed, and props as well. And I'm an Englishman, so I know all about the importance of needing top props and lots of them. And Australia have got players that can play really well on their day. Taniela Tupou, but him and Angus Bell have their share of injuries, and the depth just isn't there. So they need depth, and they need time in the saddle. They need a lot of experience, and they're going to get another year of that. But how many games are they really going to get before the British and Irish Lions are in town? So tough, but they need to address all of these and more. But with Joe Schmidt, what they do have is someone who is able to get more out of his team than the individuals can get on their own. They're greater than the sum of their parts because of Joe Schmidt's coaching. One thing he has done, whether it's with New Zealand, with Ireland, now with Australia, he is able to get really good attacking shapes. And that's definitely what Australia have got. I give them a 6.5 out of 10 overall. What do you think of that? Enough positives that there's some optimism, but also the caution there is they played against an England team whose defence was a complete mess. They played against Wales 3 times and Georgia, and their performance in the Rugby Championship was occasionally decent, but often quite poor. I don't know. It's hard to know. It's a long road back for Australia. I really, really am willing Joe Schmidt and his squad to push on in 2025. Here's hoping they do. Right, tomorrow, England. Next in the alphabet, isn't it? England, then Fiji, then France, Ireland. Just going through the alphabet in my head. All of the big nations I will be doing in this series. So, yeah, thank you for watching. Give the video a thumbs up. Hit subscribe so you don't miss any. Tell me what you think down below.